It was 2023, and out of the multitude of social media companies that emerged, the one that was the most prominent was Threads. Run by Mark Zuckerberg, this was his attempt at creating a new social media platform that wasn't as, shall we say, disruptive to the general public. It wasn't that long until the popularity of Threads took off and people started moving away from Twitter, seeing how it was brought up by a Nazi sympathizer at the time, Elon Musk. As a result of this shift and Twitter being more and more of a dumpster fire than it already was, one thing that sort of kept it alive was a feud between these two tech giants. At the time, it was something interesting to watch, and there was a lot of media coverage for it, most of which revolved around a potential cage match between the two of them, along with a brief note that Musk suggested that they should go as far as to measure the size of their junk as well. Putting aside that mental imagery, the public was clearly interested in this. Who wouldn't want to see two nerds beat the crap out of one another in a cage after all?
Oh, I do.
But as the dust settled between that particular heated argument, all that was really left was the fact that this junk measuring contest became more of a pissing contest. And neither of them were that impressive, nor did it amount to anything at all.
Well, that was a waste of time.
But what I want to focus on isn't so much the feud between these two that have been going on for years and years at this point, but rather the behavior these two tech bros displayed, because that is genuinely interesting. After all, this is Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg that we're talking about here. These are two billionaires that self-help has platformed time and time again to share their various words of wisdom on how us average folk should be living our lives. There is no shortage of articles from both of them discussing how to live better lives, how to experience success, improve our skills, or just be better entrepreneurs or providers for our families. I'm sure that the advice itself is well-meaning, but I can't help but look at the deeds these tech bros have done and say, I can't see if these guys actually practice any of what they preach. Especially when the heated discussion between the two of them have had over the years. I'm all for healthy rivalry, but the whole display looked like two nerds who now want to be big stereotypical macho men and are going about it in the most awkward way possible. Especially when we consider the final consideration. They couldn't stop comparing themselves to one another.
Who the heck are you?
I just told you that. Listen, I'm from the future.
How dare you point at me?
You were pointing first.
Rude to point.
You're being very rude. You're not even believing what I'm saying.
Which one pointed first?
Spider-Man pointed first, obviously.
There are no shortage of videos on comparison, explaining in great detail about why it's bad, how to stop it, and so on. But I want to take a different approach, unlike so many others, for this video. Instead, I want to talk about how comparison as a whole prevents us from growing, and we end up more like losers and failures on the long term. Because similar to those two titans in Musk and Zuck, I can't exactly say their lives are better since that heated comparison match. I mean, Musk is now more drugged up than ever and is doing a terrible job in getting into the political realm last I checked, and he is still posting Nazi shit.
Yikes, yikes, yikes.
Then there is Zuck, who continues to make Facebook a terrible place to be, and despite Threads' popularity at first, it's been dying out once people realized it's nothing but big corporations that are posting the various things.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
How this all relates to us is that we can easily see who we could become to some extent if we constantly compare ourselves to one another in the same way these tech billionaires are doing. So why does comparison make us worse individuals? Well, for starters, when we get absorbed into comparing ourselves for whatever reason, we tend to see people in a brand new light. The potential cage match between Zuck and Musk was interesting because it created an opportunity for us all to pick sides. You were either rooting for Musk or the Zuck. The problem is that sort of rallying around a person results in us ignoring certain aspects about their lives. Sure, seeing the two of them kicking the crap out of one another in a cage sounds like a lot of fun, but it's not exactly going to give them brownie points or change my impression of these individuals, especially when we consider the pain and suffering that they've caused to various people around the world.
Emotional, damn it!
Not to mention the whole idea of striving to be like them in the first place isn't exactly a healthy goal to be striving for as a regular average person. As much as so many articles paint these individuals, along with many others, as these great individuals to live up to, they are by no means flawless. They have done some very terrible things, and some individuals have done some truly reprehensible things that aren't worth following them in the first place.
I'm gonna click on decline.
In fact, several of them are worse than the personas that they have projected onto the public. It's hard to imagine that Zuckerberg really takes user experience seriously when he tried to force us into liking the metaverse. I mean, he couldn't even convince his own staff to be using it on a regular basis. And if you can't even convince your own employees to use the thing that you've spent so much money on and that you want people to love and use, I've got some bad news for you.
Yeah, well, normally that's gonna leave a mark.
The same goes for Musk. It's hard to imagine him as a family man when he has so many kids that he doesn't look after, and one of them has even changed her last name to just to not be associated with him any longer. That's rough, buddy.
That's rough, buddy.
What a lot of comparison to the elite does is it creates dissonance between your own journey and what you're being told. You're being sold a dream that we want to be like these rich people, despite the fact that they lied, cheated, had privileged lifestyles, and did all kinds of harm to get to where they are right now. And they definitely didn't follow all the advice that they have dished out to people now that they have so much success. But all of that is really nothing new. Like so many other videos on comparison, they probably talked about these things and shared some alternatives to what you could be doing instead. One particular strategy I found that was somewhat interesting was to instead compare yourself to yourself. Popularized by Matthew McConaughey's 2014 speech on winning Best Actor, the idea he proposed was to chase your future self rather than to be like someone you're not.
Okay, so that's just neat, okay?
It's a sensible idea, as valuing ourselves is generally a good thing with self-help. But the issue I have with this advice is how obsessive it is of ourselves. The thing about life is we don't really know what kind of person we're going to be becoming later down the road. We can certainly imagine it, but it can be a dangerous slope if we expect our lives to be exactly like that moving forward. The world changes and new things emerge that can change the course of our lives. Life is an unpredictable mess. And so using our future selves as a basis to comparison doesn't seem right to me. Beyond that, just telling people to stop comparing themselves to others isn't going to work either for obvious reasons. So what should we be doing about comparison? How can we actually improve ourselves and stop comparing ourselves all the time? Well, call it unconventional, but I would suggest doing nothing about it.
Wearing nothing at all.
On a human instinctual level, we are bound to compare ourselves to other people. It's why some of us are very intense about sports or very invested in stories about two nerds wanting to measure their junk and pretend to be big boys in a cage. We're never going to get rid of that tendency entirely, but I'm of the mind that we can reframe it. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the comparison game that gurus push for is a distraction. They think it's better to have us compare ourselves to the rich guy with the $50 million mansion or to themselves. both of which are people that enjoyed privileges and other perks that we don't have ready access to ourselves. And instead of falling in love with the idea of who your future self might be and trying to chase that, I believe it's better to treat it similar to envy. Stop setting your sights on someone you never met and focus on people in your own community. Look to your neighbors, your coworkers, or your friends and ask yourself, what do they have that I'd love to have in my own life? Spend time talking with them. Ask for pointers and genuinely put in the work towards fulfilling that. Doing something like that is way more realistic than trying to compare yourself to a complete stranger, because in that moment, your comparison is real and genuine and a motivational source to push yourself towards that than anything else. And that is all I have to say about the topic. Thank you guys so much for watching the entirety of this video. Don't forget to go and leave a like on this video and also subscribe to this channel for more videos like this in the future.